Okay. So I have to fix. Camera's not right. I don't think so, but I have to fix the camera anyway.
And our discussion today is going to be about burial matters. And Joe's going to be giving our presentation. And I thought it was interesting that in today's paper was an article about funeral homes don't have to list prices online, but that may change. And Joe's going to be talking a little bit about that today. So let me introduce Joe, and then I'll say a word of prayer, and then we'll get started. So Joe is our shining light of Stephen Ministers, because he's been with us as Stephen Minister since his inception 30 years ago. So let's give her a round of applause. Thank you for sharing with people so much and for so long. And she's worked really hard on this presentation, so I'm thankful that she's here today. So let's go ahead and pray. Holy Spirit, we thank you so much for being with us today. We hope that you give us the information and knowledge that you want us to have, along with the hope and comfort that we can give others as we gather here today. In Jesus' name, amen. So thank you so much. Thank you, Joe.
I'm so glad that so many of you have showed up and showed an interest in this, because I know this is a really difficult but unnecessary topic. And I hope that I'm going to help you with some personal decisions and help you answer some questions that you have regarding traditional burial, VA burial, and burial alternatives such as cremation and pre-burial. I will also give you some information on body donation. And please forgive me, I'm going to have to be reading a lot of stuff. So I will try to keep this as personal as possible without getting into a milestone, but there's a lot to read and there's a lot of information. So like I mentioned, these are difficult topics to talk about. And while we might plan details for our funeral, we might have trouble when it comes to what we want done with our body and how and where and if we want to bury it. So let's go over to the next slide.
The next one, I'm sorry, when you say next, I was already two behind.
Okay, when I told my friends, all of them in their 70s and 80s, by the way, about this topic that I would be discussing today, there was a lot of interest. And we had a pretty lively discussion about it. and about various alternatives to traditional burial. Who could be buried where? For instance, one of my friends was a retired military, and he'll be buried in a military cemetery. My other friend, a lady who has been with him for many years, was surprised that she could not be buried next to him because she does not qualify to be buried in a military cemetery. Not only that, but his ex-wife, who does qualify for burial in the military cemetery, could be buried next to him. So you can see things really need to be talked about, sorted out before the time comes. It's important that we discuss this with our loved ones, and that we also need to make sure that it's in writing so that our wishes are carried out when the time comes. So I'm going to start with traditional burials. I'll go to the next slide. At traditional burials, at least in the United States, we usually utilize funeral homes. Morticians wash and dress and embalm the body, and then they place the casket to be viewed or to ready it for burial or where the casket would be placed in a vault in the cemetery. Of course, we would take the wishes of the deceased, federal and state laws and religious beliefs into consideration. For instance, many religions do not embalm the dead and have their own washing and clothing ritual. And they would also need to bury the dead in possible usually within 24 hours. Next slide. There could be a lot of variations to the traditional burial, and there are certain rules and regulations one must follow. On the other hand, there is federal protection for the consumer. The Federal Trade Commission has a funeral rule. This is called the Funeral Industry Practice, part of 453 of the Code of Federal Regulations, mandated in 1982. So let's just look at the screen. You can see the funeral practice industry, or better known as the funeral rule. The consumer rights mandated by the FTC or as I mentioned, the funeral rule. The right to choose the funeral goods and services, the right to receive information in writing about funeral services and merchandise before any decisions and purchases are made. Information should come from the general price list. The right to receive information concerning the purchases of any items that are required by law. The right to use a casket purchased from someone other than the funeral home. The right to have alternative containers available from funeral providers that perform cremation. The funeral rule applies only to funeral homes and directors. This means that other providers such as cemeteries and crematoria are not subject to the funeral rule. In most states, you do not need to hire a funeral director to do preparations for burial. Families or loved ones or a religious group or funeral guide or the end of life doula can do this. There are 9 states that do require to use the funeral director. California is not one of them. Let's talk about choosing a cemetery. When choosing a cemetery, you want to make sure that you know the rules and the regulations of that cemetery. Also, the laws of the state, if it's out of state, for instance, California laws may differ from, say, Wisconsin law. So you do need to make sure you have all your ducks in order for the rules and laws. Some cemeteries may or may not be able to provide certain services for you, such as military cemeteries. They have restrictions regarding who can be buried there. Traditional burials have a lot of variations. One size does not fit all. This means you have a number of options to choose and choices for burials. You can, but are not obligated to, by packages offered by various funeral homes. The price of the funerals can be overwhelming. I have an example of what it costs. This was supplied by the local mortuary here in East County. It actually is a price list that all mortuaries are required to give you, the one that we talked about in the funeral rules. And this is typical of San Diego. This mortuary that's done in East County. The prices are from 2021. So just keep that in mind, but, so obviously the prices have gone up, but I don't have it displayed, do have it on a table. It's in a low folder, everyone take a look at that and check it out. If you know, what you want, cloth or casket and other arrangements, then perhaps you will want to prepay. You should definitely buy your cloth or cloth ahead of time, if you don't have one. You can buy cloths for as little as $500 or as high as 10,000. It depends on where you want to be buried. Burial insurance can be bought, check your sources, and always buy from a reputable company. You might find that you can save money and be at peace with yourself by choosing an alternative burial. Perhaps you belong to a fraternal organization, or you're a vet or a member of the military. We'll be discussing military burials in a little bit. Alternative burials also. But first, let's discuss traditional burials and cost. We'll look at the slide. Let's talk a little bit about the price of caskets for traditional burial. This information comes from various sources, and these are current online prices. Caskets vary in price. You can purchase plain wood casket for as little as $799. Premium caskets start at $1,399. Military caskets, which fall under premium caskets, start at $1,699. These are all online prices and can be ordered through a big box store such as Costco and Walmart. Yes, they can. Buy anything at Costco.
And they deliver us.
I checked an online organization called Titan. And they also have premium caskets and promise delivery within 24 hours. Titan seems to be especially proud of their premium military casket. They have pictures along with a description, as do all of the online stores. There are many other online sites that you can purchase caskets, and there are but these are the average prices of various caskets available. You can see on the screen. Of course, you can purchase caskets through the funeral home. Just know that it might be cost a little bit more money. According to one of the online sites, which is called After Your Time, as of February 2023, on average, a casket from a funeral home costs $1,800 to $4,000. The median price being about $2,995. That's in the funeral home. These prices were a result of a survey that After Your Time did. They surveyed about 137 funeral homes across the country, and they received results from at least 2 funeral homes from each state. So that's the information that I got from the slide. So as you can see, there is a significant variance in price depending on where the casket was purchased and what material it was used. For instance, the price of a steel casket is about $1,500 to $3,400 online versus a cardboard one, which is about $150 to $800. So you can get most of this data off, like as I mentioned, online. Some of the sources that I use, 7 Best Casket Buyer Guide, up to choose one for 2023, and you can go on Titan Caskets also. Take a water break too. Okay, there are many. Excuse me. There are many online sites that you can choose from, and online it's like I mentioned before, it's generally the least expensive way to order a casket. And they all offer delivery within 24 hours. So yeah, it's a thought. You give the description and pictures. It might be very convenient.
Where would it usually be delivered to?
First question.
I don't know if they'll let you try it out the way I did. Having said that, though, most people or many people go through funeral homes because they do find it more convenient and helpful. Everything is done for you, and a lot of people feel that, just as I do, there's a big burden that's taken off of you by going through a funeral. And they take care of everything, just make sure you go to a reputable funeral home, they're playing around, so just, they really are more than helpful. Remember, you are never obligated to buy items through the funeral home. Keep in mind that consumers are protected by the funeral rule mandated by the FTC. If you go online and Google what is the price of casket, you will get many sources and lots of information. Some good, most good, some not so good, so just keep in mind. Just a quick mention about vaults and grave liners and their prices.
So, here,
We have a vault, this would be. Do we have that on the screen? No. I'll
I
just,
don't know that it goes right to military.
I'll just read it off. Okay,
Okay.
I'll just read it off. This is a quick little mention. If you're going to be buried in the ground, you may need a vault or a grave liner. A vault is usually made of steel, concrete, or some lightweight durable material such as fiberglass. It's this is placed in the grave to enclose the casket and to keep it stabilized. It prevents the ground from sinking over the grave and protecting the integrity of the grounds. It's not a legal requirement, but many cemeteries require vaults for cemetery maintenance. So a vault can cost between $2,000 and $7,000, depending on the material used. Grave liners also surround and protect the casket. While made of heavy duty material, the grave liner is not as sturdy as a vault, and the cost is significantly lower, about $700. You would need to check what, if anything, is required by the cemetery you choose. So I hope this is helpful and thought-provoking information. This is what I had on top of the tutorial. Like I said, there's a lot of information online. That's where I got most of mine. Now I would like to talk a little bit about military burials. I'm not going to discuss burials regarding active military, but I will focus on military funeral and burial benefits of veterans. Many people think that VA will pay for funeral expenses. Not true. The type of assistance provided by the VA will depend on whether the veteran is being buried in a private or VA cemetery. Except in special cases, the VA does not pay the casket. And these are the eligibility requirements for the VA burial. So let's look at the slide. Who is eligible for VA burial benefits? This information is taken directly from off of the VA site. Veterans, service members, spouses, and dependents may be eligible for burial in a VA national cemetery, as well as other benefits if they meet one of these requirements. The person qualifying for burial benefits is a veteran who did not receive a dishonorable discharge, or a person qualifying for burial benefits is a service member who died while on active duty, inactive duty for training, or the person qualified for burial benefits is the spouse or minor child of the veteran, even if the veteran did not die first, or the person qualifying for burial benefit is, in some cases, the unmarried adult dependent child of a veteran, even if the veteran did not die first. And by law, every eligible veteran can receive a military honor ceremony. And this would include the items on the screen. We have the military honors. Military honors ceremony would consist holding of and presenting of the United States burial flag, playing taps, being buried in a VA national cemetery if applicable, having a military honors detail. A military honors detail consists of two or more uniformed military persons, with at least one being a member of the veteran's parent service. the veteran chooses to be buried in the national cemetery, the following are included. So let's look at that display and see. The veterans who choose a VA national cemetery are eligible for the following: military funeral honors, grave site, opening and closing of the grave, grave liner, headstone or marker, perpetual care. Note, in special cases, they may be eligible for partial reimbursement or burial expenses. The VA will determine the eligibility and reimbursement amount. Veterans who choose a private cemetery are eligible for the following: military funeral honors, headstone or medallion. If you have any questions regarding eligibility, benefits, or military cemeteries, contact the Veterans Administration and chat with someone that can walk you through the qualifications and what you need to do to apply. Other excellent sources are funeral homes, funeral directors. When going through the funeral home, make sure that they don't charge you extra for filing and forms. Remember, they're not allowed to by law. My husband and I are going to go through Dignity Memorial. They're part of Glen Abbey Memorial Park, but we'll be utilizing the VA cemetery in Denmark. So, I have a booklet that was sent to me, which is, I'm sorry, I thought I had a booklet, but unfortunately I left it at home. So, but it, all your mortuaries will send you information, and very, very helpful information if you choose to do a military funeral. They'll send information on veterans planning guides and things of that nature, and it's very, very helpful. So just remember, if you want to go through just a regular cemetery, it's fine. You're perfectly welcome to mortuary. You're perfectly welcome to do that, and they'll give you a lot of good information. Dignity memorials happen, ones that we went to and really like them. So you we also have pamphlets that will that we're going to be distributed, or maybe some of you already grabbed them up. They're also very helpful. Funeral Consumers Alliance, and they're titled Veterans Funeral and Burial Benefits. So, okay, let me just get me a quick drink of water, and then we're going to be talking about mausoleums.
On this one.
Now, let me just do a quick talk about mausoleum. Mausoleum is a structure, usually a stone building designed for burial or entombment above the ground. There are two types: public or community, or private mausoleum. Public is public mausoleum is where multiple people are entombed, and it's open to the public, and anyone can be entombed there. Some public mausoleums contain niches for cremated remains and regular crypts for the above ground burial. Private mausoleums are not open to public viewing and usually contain maybe one or two crypts. And these would be in an area of the cemetery where the plot and mausoleum would have been purchased and constructed in advance. The crypt is within the mausoleum structure, and it holds the remains of the deceased. The mausoleum houses the remains, and they can be buried above ground, so that they can be buried above ground. They may also have a columbarium to house cremated remains. As you may know, mausoleums can be quite large and elaborate, and quite small and simple. So let's look at what maybe a mausoleum might cost, just in case you're interested. Slide. Slide. Okay, the cost of mausoleum. Cost to bury in a public mausoleum is about the same as a regular burial, $2,000 to $10,000. The cost of a private mausoleum is significantly more than public. Yes, it costs can include. It includes a structure and a simple walk-in crypt for two people. This is what that cost is. You can go way up forever practically. That is about $25,000 to $100,000. That's just a simple one.
Yeah, to the starter home.
There are some parts of the country where these are required, not maybe not that big, but for above ground burial is required, for instance, you go to, New Orleans, Louisiana,
Because of the water.
you walk away to the sea if you bury that house. If you want any more information, you can Google mausoleums. There's a lot of information regarding the cost of the sources. Just Google, you'll find tons of information. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about cremation. So we can go to the next slide. There are two types of cremation: there's direct and wet or alkaline hydrolysis. Direct cremation uses extreme heat to reduce the body to bone fragments. Wet cremation or alkaline hydrolysis is where the body is actually submerged in an alkaline solution to decompose. So if we can look over at the screen, I will run off what that's all about. Direct cremation uses extreme heat to reduce the body to bone fragments. There's a small amount of ash residue. What is left is the bone fragments that do not burn. They get pulverized. The pulverized bone fragments are then put into a receptacle and given back to the survivors. Actually, it's called a casket. No ashes are given back because there are direct cremation creates smoke and residue of the byproducts to get into the atmosphere. Direct cremation requires the removal of all metal, such as gold fillings, pacemakers, or any other devices that are implanted into the body. These items are not usually returned with the pulverized bone, but they are usually disposed of at the crematorium. Some crematoriums like to make arrangements to return some gold fillings, but not necessarily. Wet or alkaline hydrolysis cremation is the body is submerged in water and alkaline solution. The solution speeds up decomposition. This takes about a couple of days to do, actually. So versus say your direct cremation, which takes a couple of hours. So it does decompose. The body decomposes and dissolves in an alkaline solution with only bone fragments left, which are then pulverized the same way as direct cremation. This form of cremation is flameless and does not release any harmful products to the atmosphere. The byproducts of the alkaline solution can safely go back to the earth. All implants and hardware can be safely removed from the body and will be cleaned and given back to the survivors, in some cases, even donated. You make free arrangements, of course. Some funeral homes own and operate their own crematoriums. There are also many other independent crematoriums. You can go through crematorium societies such as Trident or Neptune or National Cremation Society. All cremation societies require membership. Neptune and National Cremation Society are the largest cremation societies in the U.S. They are corporate funeral companies operated by the Service Corporate International, and they are in the business of cremation. And they may be able to offer some discounts for pre-planning cremation for members. They also offer some type of package rate for cremation. Keep in mind the cost. It costs money to join cremation societies. That's between $25 and $50 for one person, and between $50 and $100 for family membership. I don't know what a family membership means. If it means 2 or more, I don't know.
Like a family membership.
I don't know. You can also go to funeral homes, even if they don't have their own crematorium. They can make all the arrangements for you and give you all the information you need. For instance, I'm going through Dignity Memorial, and it's the same one that my husband and I are using for a VA burial. And all reputable funeral homes will be more than happy to give you information on cremation and other burial options. So I just thought I have a breakdown of the prices regarding direct cremation services. Just keep in mind that you're not necessarily going to use all these services. and just look at the slide. I'm not going to read off every single thing, but these prices reflect the national median cost of an adult cremation with viewing and burial according to the National Funeral Directors Association. You can see the basic funeral services with the staff, 2,300. And then we have all these different services. And I thought it was interesting that the cremation casket cost $1,310. That was a lot of money because this is a little tiny box, it's not a giant casket. And I just thought that was interesting. The average cost of the in the 2023 is around $6,970 in the United States, including cremation caskets and urns. The price of direct cremation alone is about $800 to $1,600. The price of wet or alkaline cremation only is about $2,000 to $3,000. So let's talk a little bit about rules regarding cremation. Well, there are strict rules and regulations regarding cremation, but there should be. The rules for how the ashes or the remains are distributed are very few. When one receives the remains of a cremated body, you can place them in an urn. You can leave them in a container that they came in, or you can put them in another container or another urn. Some families have ashes memorialized at a cemetery. My friend, before she died, made arrangements to be cremated, and her remains placed in a container and put on a hollow leg of a memorial bench that is at her gravesite, and her husband's going to be doing the same. But when does that come? So you can distribute the ashes. Actually, the remains are not really ashes, are they? But you can distribute the remains among other loved ones who might want them, and you can take them to the desert. You can, take them to the sea. You can even make jewelry out of them. Yeah, people do. I don't know why, but it happens. But there are a couple of things you cannot do. For one thing, you cannot put remains on private or public property without permission. And you cannot take the remains to the sea you can take the remains to the sea, but they have to be at least 500 feet from the marina or the shore. These rules apply both to direct and wet cremation. Because once it's done, it's really just as dry cremation. It's just that it's that same type of remains, so keep that in mind. The crematoriums are regulated by the state and are run by licensed professionals with special training for both legal and safety matters. If you're considering cremation, there may be some prep work that you would want to do, especially when it comes to direct cremation. There may be some items that you and your loved ones may request to have removed before cremation, such as the gold teeth, prosthetic limbs, pacemakers, and other medical implants. Cremation societies such as Neptune will work with you to ensure these things are gone and removed. Funeral homes will also work with you. I have a number of medical implants, and then I will be sure to list and give the information to my funeral home to make sure that they are removed before cremation. And one laying around somewhere. Pacemakers and certain medical implants, if not removed, can actually, they can actually cause explosion and cremation. I'm pretty sure they'll be checking. But if you really do want to ensure that these come back to you, then you would want to list out and make sure that, especially with dry cremation, because, like I say, they usually routinely just go through and just throw these things away. Wet cremation, you're very likely to get them back because everything that is not dissolved in that alkaline solution is sterile. and clean, and they can give this, and the implants will not dissolve any more than the bone fragments will, so they will give a vacuum, but not so much of the dry.
That's what I want.
So
Right.
now it's time to talk about green berry.
Ladies.
I'm gonna take a look. What do I do? Okay, look at the slide. Now, this information. I think, Mary Jo, you may not have this on the screen, but I will read this, which we're gonna talk about what is a green burial. And I lost the full page, so I never gave it to you, sorry. So green burials, AKA natural burials, or eco-friendly burials, minimize environmental impact by not using things like cement or embalming. Or embalming chemicals that are not biodegradable, making the burial as natural as possible, so the body, once it's buried, can be biodegrade in a natural way. And I got this source from, it's called Green Berries, buriallegacy.com, so another online thing. Green burial is in a natural setting. It uses sustainable, eco-friendly practices and materials. Embalming is not required or necessary. Caskets and shrouds are biodegradable. Urns are biodegradable. Flat rocks or trees are used as grave markers. What is not allowed? Regular caskets, standing headstone, material that does not biodegrade, such as plastic, metal, or fiberglass. Now, I have a little cost breakdown here that you won't see on the screen, but I have it here. Burial cost, the burial cost between $15,000 and $3,000. I not so sure that that's a real. I think that maybe it could probably cost more depending where you're going to have it done and how you're going to have it done, but that's for a regular burial cost. Opening and closing the grave, well, $1,200. Shroud between $300 and $1,100. And then, I don't know. The prices are hard to find for green burial, but that's the prices that I found that might be helpful. In its purest form, a green burial simply means that the burial is in a natural setting using eco-friendly and sustainable materials. Flat rocks and trees are used as a grave marker. No standing engraved headstone. Caskets, if used, are biodegradable, as are shrouds and all other materials. I was surprised to learn that green burials are legal in all 50 states. Of course, in all burials, there are strict local state regulations and rules, and that need to be followed. First, it's California. It's one of the 8 states that require a body to be embalmed before it is transported to another state. So usually embalming is not done in green burials. However, there are eco-friendly embalming fluids that can be used if need be, and they meet all the requirements of the green burial. There are cemeteries that dedicate areas to green burial. Not very many, but there are some. There are also a number of green burial cemeteries in California. You can go online, green burial cemeteries in California. Just go online and you'll get a whole list of stuff. And you get a list of with more information and descriptions. And you can also go to something called Green Burial Council.org is another good source. And of course, don't forget to utilize the funeral homes and directors. They certainly have information regarding cemeteries for green burials, and they can offer you burial packages and locations of green cemeteries. Okay, we're going to be talking about body donations that right after break. Body donations. Our last topic. Some quick information. There's basically 2 types of body donations. There's a donation to a medical school and a donation to science or non-tissue transplant bank. The donation to a medical school, the body is typically remains at the university for educational and clinical research. The body will remain at the school for 1 to 3 years. The remains are not returned to the family. Most programs are at no cost. Some may have processing or donating fees up to $1,000. The UCSD Medical School Program is a no cost, and it's at no cost, and it does not return the body. Instead, it's cremated and remains are disposed of SC. Actually, it's quite a nice memorial ritual that they do. A lot of the students and other people that have worked on these bodies or with these bodies, they will take them and they'll have a memorial service. It's very nice and very respectful. If the body is donated to a non-tissue transplant bank, they use donated tissue, which supports medical research, education, training, and testing for medical tools or equipment. Body parts can be sold and distributed around the globe. Non-tissue transplant banks can be for-profit or non-profit. The body will remain in a collection facility for 1 to 3 weeks, and then will be cremated and returned to the family in a temporary urn. If you are considering body donation to either a medical school or a non-transplant bank, please keep in mind and understand the following. Let's look at the slide. Body donations should be arranged prior to death by registering with a qualified organization. When registering, be sure to determine if any diseases or conditions of such as COVID-19, HIV, TB, extensive trauma, or advanced decay, that this may disqualify a donation. You cannot specify what type of studies the body will be used for. Organ donations may be restricted or not allowed. If organ transplants are allowed, understand how these are coordinated. Be sure to check your agreement for this information. Most programs require immediate removal and transport. So your family may not have time to be present or view you after death. Review your agreement about every 3 years to update information. You always have the right to opt out of a body donation agreement. The organization will be responsible to complete and file a death certificate with the county. Your family will have to pay the county for certified copies of the death certificate. Your body will be transported and remains will be cremated at no cost to you or your family. The family verify this, verify this in the agreement and determine if cremated remains will or will not be returned to the family. Inform your family doctor, attorney, and others of your decision to donate your body. Be sure everyone knows where the agreement is kept and understand what will be required. Have a plan in place in case your body is not eligible for body donation at the time of death. No, non-transplant tissue banks have been referred to as body brokers in some news articles and have been criticized for not being transparent with donors and their families. Now, these sources came from UCSD School of Medicine, and I have an address if you're interested in. And I have a website and an address and a phone number if you're interested in body donation program. By the way, the forms are quite extensive. We do not have forms for body donations because they're quite extensive, quite involved. So, but if you do want more information, I have stuff here for you. If you need. I have some addresses and phone numbers. So I do hope this information on burial matters has been helpful to you, and I hope you get some kind of meaningful discussion with your loved ones regarding your wishes. And again, we have the handouts over here and regarding the information of funeral planning. And thank you again for attending. And let's take a small break, stand up and stretch, and then we'll take your questions.
Oh, well done, Joe.
Sure.
And thank the Zoomers for joining us too. And I thought it would be nice if we let them have the first choice of questions. Because sometimes we forget about them. So Lydia, Larry, and Darlene, and Dee, welcome. And let us know if you have any questions regarding the information that Joe so excellently gave us this afternoon.
Are you gonna ask the question when the refrigerator is out? That will have repercussions. Long lasting.
Doesn't seem like it.
Okay, how about any of you here, Joanne?
I was at the DMV this week, and I think it's the first time I said yes on donation body parts. How does that factor into some of these decisions that I'm?
I'm sorry, could you repeat
Yeah.
that? I lost my hearing aid. So, could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, at DMV, I signed up for yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So how does that weigh into these decisions then?
Yeah, well, I don't know, but I do know that if you're a body donor, I mean, if you're an organ donor, you should make sure you have it on the DMV license. But you know, they put it in a national database, and so you know you have it.
I would think
That's
that's
how
the
we
answer
do.
this week too. Joanne, does anybody else know more specific?
It depends on where they die, let's say in the hospital, and then the hospital has, if there's donations and
Yes,
the
yes.
family and
Start
talk to them directly.
with, start with your durable power.
Yes,
Or-
but yes, that was it.
Yeah, I kind of wonder that too. How does that work?
I didn't think about it too hard.
Thank you, Karen. Anybody else have any questions or comments about the information?
I just hope Scott took good notes.
I can see him. He's got there's writing all over his paper.
Perfect, perfect.
Will you be able to read it, Dee?
Probably not.
About the water cremation.
Yeah,
I read up about that more than 5 years ago, but probably less than 10. And I can't pull it up now because it just didn't come up for me in here. At the time, there weren't any, I don't think, in California.
that's right.
Is there any now?
Yes, there is. You know, the governor just approved, I think last year. I was, like I said, I was surprised actually, it's been legal forever. But when you think about it, I mean, it's just a natural thing, you know, it's just. Yes, there are some lists I have, I just went to, green burials. And I found a whole list, and cemeteries, and I went and I found a whole list. There's quite a number of them in Southern California and scattered about. But you know, it is very interesting because they're not a lot. You're right. They're very few, and there's a lot of cemeteries that don't accommodate green burials at all. And there are others that have managed to set aside some space, but yeah, because of the specific rules of green burial, it can be kind of tricky.
Yeah, and I guess with the water thing and water or that.
Oh, the water, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I understood.
They have to get all these mortuaries or whatever, or cremation places have to get all new equipment
Yeah,
and meet these laws and licenses, and
yeah,
that's what I was told at the time.
yeah, the water cremation, the aqua cremation is relatively new, and I had a hard time getting a lot of information about it, but the information I got was pretty good. Really, the prices, I was unable to find a lot of pricing. Because I think it's just kind of you know, a scattered thing, not everybody does it. But, again, I really just Googled everything and, yeah, I think we could.
I
we
just
could do
don't
that.
think there's so. We're not gonna.
I have,
It's interesting, they claim that it's a very, very clean, and it sounds like it is, they claim it's a very clean cremation. Because, the solution that they use actually is like, it's a sterile solution. And when your body decomposes in that solution, it becomes everything, that solution, just sort of dissolves all of that stuff, you know, and, you can go right back into the ground and.
Well, she's actually talking about water, like you say,
Well, the what?
there's the wet alkaline water.
Right.
And then there's the water, and I only heard about that when we were.
But that's the same, that's the same, that's the same thing. Water, cremation and alkaline cremation is the same, it's just a different term.
Mary Jo,
I think Darlene was trying to say something.
okay, Dee.
yes, I do have a question. I wondered if Joe touched on compostable burials, and I know Washington State is doing that. I don't know if California has done this yet.
Is that the-
Merciful burials.
Is that the?
Oh, compostable, I beg your pardon, and compostable burials, I believe, according to what I've read, is the same as green burials. Is this another term?
The compostable, they actually mix the body with earth and other materials like you would use for a compost. And I think it takes about 6 months. And then I believe all of it is put in a bag and the relatives can get it at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, there's different ways of
Pretty, look at
dealing
those great
with-
tomatoes mom's growing.
Yes, I didn't go into all that because well, anyway. But there are different ways of doing green burials, and some will, yeah, some bodies will decompose faster than others with certain burial rituals. You know, but it's basically putting that body right back into the ground with nothing there to hinder it from decomposing. So, but sometimes they do wrap it in certain things, the biodegradable things that help with the decomposing. Yes.
Thank you.
A lot of new technology, coming to us, that we can learn about. And
So I know you're supposed to get permission, for cremation of, spreading your ashes. But what about, let's say, if you want to get your ashes on a train track, which is different, you know, is there anything you read about?
I would say that it would be just fine. You know, the thing is, I think if you're going to like a national park or a state park or some other public and or private property, then you know you obviously would need to get permission. But you know, I mean, there's so many people that have taken that their people's remains. Done what people want them to do is, you know, I mean. Legal, I don't think there was a law.
Cause it's sterile. It's
Yeah,
basically dust.
exactly, and that's the thing, it's not like having a decomposed body, you have a sterile, package of stuff. And it's just pulverized bones and flesh and it's sterile, and both wet and dry cremations like that.
would anybody like to share something that they learned today that you didn't know before?
How much mosques are and mausoleums. I'm blown
Yeah.
away.
Oh, yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
There's optional liners. Yeah, if you were in a cardboard box, maybe you want a steel liner.
Mhm.
I like that you're never obligated to hire a director. Yeah, that's really. I noticed that the price sheet that's available through Featherington doesn't mention liners or vaults. It mentions the cost of the casket, but it sounds like the liner and the vault. Yeah, at least the vault can be much more expensive than the casket.
Sounded like it.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
That's
so
weird.
the liner and the vault, are usually, the pricing on that is from the actual cemetery that they're gonna be in.
Rather
That's where they make their money.
you know, and again, that vault really isn't required, by law, it certainly isn't. But the cemeteries, like everything, will look nice, it's hard to cut around a big dip in the ground, so that's the only reason why it's used.
And
Question, about the burial thing for the military, like, I want her to, you know, her buried beside, not my ex-wife. How do I do that? I mean, there are.
Call the VA number, 1-800 VA.
Yeah, I don't.
that was good to find out. huh?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Well, is that, yeah, that's raise, I mentioned that spouses of someone who's a qualifying member can be buried next to them, so.
Yeah.
The situation you were describing must be that the couple weren't married.
married, maybe.
Well, I think, nowadays,
Yes, that's. true.
yeah, nowadays,
weren't
we're
married.
married. Yeah,
But
that-
they've lived together for many, many years.
Okay, so Ed is okay.
Yeah.
As long as he.
And as long as you're, at least, and you have to do, except cremated remains, because I'm gonna be cremated. Well, Fred has debates, but we talk about them, but I'm gonna be cremated, but I'll be next to that.
I'm not.
Good for you, Fred.
Yeah, I do, yeah. So,
I do wanna share this, when I was in school, and this is back home in the Philippines, I know that there is a shortage of cadavers for med students and, you know, healthcare. To practice, so I know that's kind of morbid, but there is a shortage of, bodies for medical purpose.
yeah. And, you know, yeah, I wanted to mention a little something about that too, because the body donation, I mean, that does sound a little morbid, I know we've been. Considered something bad, right? Yeah, I think the shortage, well, first of all, your body is taken away, usually before anybody can even see it, it's taken away right away, because they want it to stay intact as best as possible, and then it is never returned. So I think that's one of the things, and the paperwork involved is just unbelievable. So, not talking about school medicine.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
When I was at, I worked also with medical, and I see when they come in, we set the body straight to, and then this team would come and just take whatever, you know, they need. So it doesn't take long, they're like a pit.
Like a heart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's nothing really left. All is used.
Larry, can we use you as a resource for the body donation through UCSD?
Yeah, I have quite a bit of information on that. So if anybody wants some information on that, they can contact me.
Thank you, Larry.
And I have address and phone number for that also.
Okay.
For UCFD, but that Larry provided me with,
Thank
so
you.
if anybody needs it, provide it.
Well, one thing I wanted to share that I learned through Joe's presentation is that we don't get the ashes back. We call them ashes and we say we're scattering ashes, but they really pulverize bone. And so that's why when I've done that before, they say rattle. And I thought, how come I hear rattling, you know, in the box? Because there's bone, it's not ashes. And so that was kind of answered that question of why did they rattle? And when my kids were younger and they were scattering grandma's ashes and they go, they rattled. And I'm like, I don't know. Because they, so now I know. So that's interesting. Any other information that anybody like to share or questions? Well, thank you all so much for coming, and thank you, Joe. Please fill out the feedback form for us. And we're getting ready, next month, and check your calendar because it's gonna be the third Sunday, May 21st, because of Memorial Day weekend. So, and the pastors promised that they're going to be giving their topic of funeral and memorial services to us on that day, on May 21st. So please get any information that you need. We also have the forms and feedback information and, handout from others of our presentation. So please check the table and please turn in your feedback forms to either Joe or Carolyn or me, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Joe has brought lots of information, which is on the table to the left. The table to the right has old materials that we've handed out other times.
All right, I'm getting ready to end the meeting. Larry, thank you for being here.